Maybe start, Anu.
Yes, please, Prabhakar, all over to you.
Okay. Good evening to everybody, and welcome to this session on spirituality and related experiences that we are going to go through. I long back met a saint. I asked him, isn't it great that Buddha, having born as a man, eventually became a god and we all worship him? He was a monk in a monastery. This conversation happened. The gentleman replied back, each one of us as human beings have the potential to be a Buddha. It is unfortunate that many of us don't realize our potential and keep searching for something somewhere in some ritualistic world, which is actually not an essential. They are all add-on beauties of life. One doesn't have anything against, but spirituality is all about what Buddha did in terms of inward looking. Then I asked him also another question, sir, what is excellence? The same monk replied, you can be good at anything in the world. You can play a piano, you can be a cricketer, you can be a footballer, you can be an academician. Then I said, sir, what is the secret? He said, to excel in something, first you have to be good human being. So the condition was to be good at anything, you have to be a good human being. It's like a foundation. Then anything can be built. Now this leads me to introduce a person who is going to gift us this session on spirituality. My dear friend, a respectable colleague, Dr. N.P. Singh. But we don't call him Dr. N.P. Singh. He also doesn't appreciate. We all call him affectionately Nagain. The beauty of Nagain is a good human being. And he has a doctorate, yes. He runs a great institution for a social cause, which is a non-profit organization. He's built it and he has run it for the last 30 years, which does lots of good to common cause in the larger society across the globe. He has done lots of work in the academic world. Name a premier institution, Nagain has touched it in some form or other. He has reprimanded me not to praise a lot, not to introduce him a big deal. So I am restraining my natural flow to talk about the good human being Nagain is. But I still leave you with the same note. We are going to have the joy of listening and learning from Nagain next hour that's available to us on a wonderful subject that I sincerely believe each one of us will learn, draw some benefits, and flourish. I leave it to Nagain the floor. Nagain, please take us through the journey that you have conceptualized for our learning. Welcome, Nagain, and welcome to all the participants in the session.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhakar, to be very generous on my appeal. And yet you did what you were so good at, saying something very spicy on something which is so touching for me as a person and also so touching to the core of the subject of the evening, spiritual aliveness. The premise of the session, an experiential session, is that we are all spiritual, born with innate spirit as a human being. That's the premise, that every human being has the innate potential of being spiritual. The matter is alive or not alive, sensitive or not sensitive. So that's how this premise we begin the session. And I will request my colleague to go straight to this slide 3. And that's where I will request my body to take straight to the slide 3, which talks of the fundamentals and the basic premise on which entire experiential learning has been designed, which says, neither I am a knower, nor I am transmitting any knowledge to you. You are here together on a journey. Na jnanam asti na jnanam dadati chaivam puja na bhakti na devam. The first, third, stay here, stay here. Na jnanam asti na jnanam dadati chaivam puja na bhakti na devam nasra aham swayam bhakti naham brahmashmi. Aham brahmashmi Chudha Atma Jnanam, Chudha Atma Jnanam. A crude translation in the PPT speaks of that neither I am a knower nor a transmitter of knowledge in this session. Like you and me, I'm only going to create a learning experience, a learning ambience in which both of us are seeker. All of us are seeker for a journey. And in this journey, I just touch the objective through which I will dwell upon the next 1 hour. The next slide, buddy. Go to the 4th slide, which talks of the objective. And in this objective, this says the unfolding and dwelling with inner silence. We will experience that part. And in this inner silence, examining the impacts that it has made in our relationship world, within the relation and beyond. And third, listening to the inner noise, not inner voice, listening to the inner noise and also a spiritual melody. So we will go through that experience as well. And the fourth would be exploring this confluence of self with the body, mind, and soul, and thoughts, actions, and our emotions. So we will go with various ups and downs in our experiential journey. And with this, I would request my body to show a video, and 1 minute video, an entire house. My friends, I will request to close their eyes. Please go through an experience on the digital meet. Close your eyes completely and just listen to the audio. There is a video, but don't look at the video. Close your eyes. And when your eyes are closed, put on the soundtrack, buddy. There is a commentary in this.
Stretch your imagination that you are in a dream, walking alone through a deep forest in the night. You are questioning, wondering, yet you are able to walk, lonely in a forest of foothills, deserted place without any life around. The sound, the fear, and the unknowns have been raising a lot of loneliness and concern. Suddenly you hear a voice of a stranger on the pathways who asks you, where are you going? In this blind state, your eyes are closed. You are not able to see in this dark tunnel is ahead. There is a dark tunnel you have already stepped into. Not able to see the end of the dark tunnel. Your heart is deepening with a fear, and you are stuck. You have a choice. Do I remember the God and pray? Or do I focus within with my calmness of mind in the body and the trust within? You have a choice. You have a choice. Calm down. Calm down.
Okay. Rub your hands and open your eyes. Slowly. Slowly open your eyes. I'm sure most of you must have closed their eyes and gone through the experience of walking in the lonely forest, stepping into the tunnel of darkness where the end is not seen. And you have a choice to either recall and remember and pray the God, or you have a choice to trust yourself and stay with your calm mind. There are two ways, primarily spiritual aliveness have been addressed around the world. So the one set of spiritual journey goes by connecting with a God, searching God, questioning God, and where is a God? Another modality, another way is whether you believe it or not in the God. I believe in myself, I trust myself, I want to know myself, and I want to go through the various experiences, etc., etc. And maybe I may connect. I'm least bothered about the God. I'm more concerned about myself. And so these two options, I shall be walking with you with this second one way of modalities where we discover, explore, and start examining our sense of a spirituality, our sensibility of a spirituality and aliveness more in the quest of knowing about ourselves. Because entire school of behavioral science and the progressive school of behavioral sciences, especially the ICEPs that I am deeply connected with, has gone through more with the sense of science of self. I call it a science of self. And in this science of self, I would take you to the next small job. How did you feel having gone through that process? Any one or two response, a quick one. This dream, those who have gone through this silent, closed eyes dream. Yeah. One or two response before I go into the breakout experiences of another one. A quick reflections when eyes were closed and you were going through their experience.
So
How did you
there
feel?
was little tenseness I experienced.
May I
And
go
when there was
again?
a choice, I felt the comfort that I have a choice. I'm not choiceless in a state. So that created a comfort for me.
Yes, Prabhakar, you were saying. Prabhakar, you were saying
Mine,
something.
when the tunnel had no end, it's a long tunnel. All I kept on getting a voice inside me was a noise, you call it. Surrender, surrender, surrender. That's what came.
Mhm. Any other
Somewhere I
response?
was reinforced to surrender to something happening.
Lovely. So one more, one or two more responses. If people have gone through the dream with the closed eyes.
For me, it was less of a choice because I felt both were happening simultaneously.
May I know who is talking? Sajana?
Sujata.
Sujata. Okay. Yes. I'm not able to see your video. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
Sujata.
so for me, both were happening simultaneously.
Mhm.
Both
Okay.
the invocation as well as the strength from within. So for me, actually making a choice didn't figure.
This Sujata response is a beautiful value additions to the way we experience and we would experience in our this togetherness. And this is where I also see at one level in pursuit of my spirituality, the godly, typical, the God-driven spirituality, sensibility, struggle around the world, and also the self-inquiry driven, self-investigation driven spirituality explorations. So what Sujata has said, it connects with the theme of the evening, brings, are we connecting with both? So duality, or are we connected with either? Is the other way? So I would leave it to the house how they experience when they go to the next setup exercise, which we are going to do for a little longer duration, which will give you, because when I say I'm not the knower, when I say that I'm not the knower, I'm not the distributor of the knowledge, I'm the seeker, I'm the seeker, I'm the seeker. So I'm not the holder of the knowledge. The knowledge within ourself is in a profundity, its own profundity is so deep that everybody till the end of having arrived is a seeker. So we begin with the large community exercise, and I will request my friend to show the PPT 6, and this will divide the group into, that's right. And here, I would like to take you to a 4-group division. I don't know how many of us are here. And if we are aware that, what is the size of the group? Yes, roughly around 20 or 15, and there will be. So we would like to divide, and people will be joining as it moves into 4 groups. And the 4 groups could be people below 30 years of age will be one group. People between 30 to 45, 60, 46 years of age. And the third group would be 45 to 60 years of age. And the last, that is 4th group, will be above 60. So depending upon the age that you are aware of, I'm sure you must be aware of, you divide into 4 groups. And some groups may have 4 persons, somebody has maybe a 3 persons, no problem. People will be joining as they are of their different age group. And even if by mistake somebody joins some other group, it's fine with me. But I made it deliberately because the next slide is speaking of the instruction, what you are going to do in the small groups. So please, next PPT, buddy, 7th one. That's right. So there are 4 phases where the impact has made in our life. And we feel we are born spiritual. We are a spiritual being. A spirit is within us. And it touches, it makes an aha experience even as a child. I recall my grandchild when she was 8 years old, and I was doing my puja, and she asked me, what will happen after my my mother was dying almost. She was too old and she was just on the deathbed. And my grandchild asked the question, and what will happen after death? I couldn't answer because a week ago, she has lost her puppy and it was cremated and she kept crying. And I had to say that puppy has gone for a rebirth, except that I couldn't answer. So question is, a child of any age has a sense of aha, a sense, the impact where they get is a meaningful charge within themselves. And slowly, what happens around the life, they gets adulterated. So when we get adulterated, we have to go back to ISEPs like things, progressive schools, or go back to various exposures. And then slowly we recharge our sense of a spiritual being. And this is where we are going to recharge our spiritual being in the next 20 minutes or 15 minutes. And you will be asking, at what age, as an investigative and curious child, you were impacted with the things to know yourself. You were impacted by things that you really felt looking at something very soft core of yourself, your own attitude, your own behavior, your own understanding of the self, far beyond the matter of hardcores. At what age? Was it during the adolescence to adulthood that you started listening and started gasping for it? Or was it only at the mid-age when you were adult and you were really exploring with ISEPs and many other exposures of your knowledge, or the career stage, or the mid-age crisis beyond 40, 45? That you had a mid-age crisis when you started struggling, raising questions and investigating as to I must do something, I don't understand what is happening in my life, and blah, blah, blah. So some of the questions that Indra Parekh was raising is the kind of struggle, the kind of questions that we raise about ourselves, our values, our ethics, our family, our helplessness, what Sushanto also mentioned. So we go through various absurd questions which I don't have an answer. So what was the time of your life where you were really very, very strongly driven? Share that experience. So in your group, if we have only 3 groups, I have no problem. You can go ahead and make only 3 groups. So I leave it to Buddy to design whether you make a 4 groups or you make a 3 groups depending upon the size of the group. So we have the size of the group between 14 to 18 or so. So please make 3 or 4 groups. Buddy, please begin that session. And me and my anchor, Prabhakar, we will be joining. The only last appeal to the breakout room would be, the members in the breakout room would be, choose an observer within your own group who will also be participating and sharing, but also be reflector, observer, and listener. Will also be observer, listener, and reflector. And maybe he or she will be asked to make a presentation on behalf of the group, if the group permits. So please, and me and anchor will be in and out any group as per the design. So is it clear? Should we go ahead and join the group breakout rooms?
Yes, sir, it's open.
Making 3 groups or 4 groups?
There are 4 groups, sir.
Okay, right.
This will be open for how many minutes, sir? 6 to 7, right?
It would be for roughly 10 minutes. I would say that, yeah, go ahead for 10 minutes.
Sure.
Not more than 10 minutes. You close at 10 minutes because a few may join a bit late, so I'll give it that. Take it 10 minutes time.
For all the others who haven't joined the room, you'll find the breakout room option at the bottom, and you have the 4 groups open, so you can choose which group you would want to be a part of based on the instruction. If someone's not able to join the group, you can let us know where you would want to join, and we can help you go there.
How do I go to,
Where would you like to go, sir?
I would like to go to 1 and 2, and my anchor will go to 3 and 4. We'll go for 3-4 minutes and come back. So can you manage the time, or I have to just change the group? I will be there
9:42 we'll close, sir.
will
Vivian,
be-
can you make
I will be there for
Nagendra
3
Singh, sir,
minutes.
co-host? So
Yeah.
that you can move between.
How do I operate from here?
I've assigned you to group 1, sir. You can click on the breakout room at the bottom, and you can move to different rooms as well.
Group 1 is empty. Stop sharing PPT.
Yeah. 8:52, 10 minutes agate. You'll be done with 10 minutes at 8:52, Vivian.
Yes, I'll broadcast the message.
8:51, send a message on broadcasting.
Done. Done.
You will close it, alva?
Hello, sir. Hello, Mr. Jalapa. Jalpa, are you present here? Mr. Jal is actually we're having a session going on. So we have divided the group as per age. So if you can tell me what your age is, I can direct you to that breakout session.
Okay, 60 plus, and what is the topic which we are discussing there?
50 plus. So they're reflecting on themselves about a certain situation from
Yeah.
childhood. There was a small story. You can join it
Okay,
and you will get a hang of it, sir. So I'll put you
60 plus,
Yeah,
60 plus.
60 plus. So there's no 60 plus group. I'll put you on 45 to 60.
Okay,
You join in there. Okay.
oh, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Nicely done, Viv.
Done. We have a meeting after this, bro.
Yeah. Few things have to be back on
Okay.
track.
It's getting recorded, so we'll take it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the group has come, the
Yeah.
buddy.
Yes, we are back.
Yes, sir. Everyone.
I would request my buddy to show the next PPT, that is the after the 9th one. Just show the 9th one so that we are clear on what is to be done now. By the time everybody arrives. Well, here is, having gone through an experience, I was with a group I did here, but my anchor was also with one or two groups. I would like the observers who were also the listener, who were also the reflector from each group to share what they felt, what they heard, and what they thought. The most impacting learning was by the individuals. At what level? Did they learn more by listening, observing, analyzing, questioning, investigating, or also by doing and socialization? So there could be different way of getting into the quest. There will be different way of developing a quest of looking at oneself. So what was the most impacting mode of their learning to explore their journey of self? So this is where the observers have been observing. And as I requested, that observer could be a participant also. So please go ahead and start sharing as to what you saw, what you observed, and what you felt in terms of process. How did you see the process? How deep it was? How meaningful it was? And also, how do you interpret and what the group did it? So please go ahead. Let's hear. And of course, me and my anchor will join because we have also seen the process. So we will come back after you complete your presentation. Please. So house is open. Please begin in the main group. So which group wants to start? Let's hear. And the group which is going to start must keep on the camera on. Yes, this is the group. I was also there.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So in our group.
Yeah, your voice, your sound. Are you muted?
1 second.
I'm not able to hear your sound.
Okay, 1 second.
No, it has come, but you have to make it louder. And also speak your name because sometimes your name is not visible on the screen. I'm not sure.
1 second. Otherwise, someone else can go for now.
Lakshmi, we can hear you now. It was loud and clear.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Okay. In our group, primarily, there was a crisis, which was primarily a loss of something which we hold dear. And the feeling of loss, the grief, and also the need for continuity or continuity of something that is already known was probably the trigger for most of the searching that happened. In all our cases, the trigger was mostly deeply related to our own feeling, or either a sense of being alone or having lost someone very close. So that triggered the process of searching as who we are, where do we come from, why do we kind of exist, where does it go to? So all these deep questions were triggered during that aspect of a crisis. And the grieving process also kind of opened up aspects as what can I kind of do beyond this one? And There was also ebb and flow with respect to the intensity of the search as we kind of moved from the time of crisis or the loss forward. But the search on its own kind of still exists. The earning, we have certain answers at one time, and then again we kind of recalculate or recalibrate our answers again with when we kind of get in touch with new ideas, new experiences, and new insights. So that was the summary from our group.
Okay, let's hear. Few more. Let us hear a few more. Somebody in the group wants to add what he hasn't said it. You can do that if anybody else in the group has heard it and felt that he has omitted.
Can you stop sharing the screen so that we can see all of them on the big screen right now?
The sound is very poor.
Sir, in our
Are you able to hear the sound, Raji?
Yeah.
I think someone started.
You are able to
speaking.
hear?
Yeah, now I'm able to hear. I think my own microphone was little less sound. Yeah. Someone started speaking. I think Sanandi.
yes, ma'am. I had started speaking. Sorry, I'm traveling, so couldn't just turn on my video. So I was just adding to what was discussed in group 2. I just want to add that we started with a discussion on the existential question, but we have such dignitaries sitting, and everybody has their own experience. I would just like to know that are there any existing answers for all the existential questions ever, or we'll be just involved in this halo of questioning self and then giving answers to self? Is there any end to it? That is what I want to ask.
Okay. You are asking the house. Maybe somebody will answer before I step in. Let's hear the next one. Your question is parked. Maybe somebody else will quickly take on. So the next group.
Rajeshwari, would you like to speak on our group's behalf?
Should I say now or? Okay. If I experience the group connecting to various points of their departure, I found that they were locating the points of the departure when they got into their quest of self-learning, their quest of, a few saw it, the impact was more in the surrounding and the family and their upbringing, and a few saw it, something happened with them internally, in the job, in the life, and that's how they took on. And the central theme of discussion was, of course, with the searching the point where I started looking at oneself. But I do agree that the one point the group didn't discuss, so what, where is the end? Where is the end for that? Is it searching, seeking, and there is no end to that? So where is the end of the self? And what is that self? Is this spirituality, being spiritually alive, is just exploring self and then then so what? And kind of questions did step into the mind and the psyche of course, she has raised it in the group, but we stopped thereafter. So I'll come back to pick up the thread. Let's hear the next group, please. Your question will be responded, please. And maybe somebody else, my anchor will also take on to respond because he was in the other group. But let's hear the group number 3 and 4, or maybe the 4.
Sir, there was no 4. It was just 2 groups, group 2 and group 3.
Yeah, though I think there were only 3 groups, perhaps.
Yeah, there was only 2 groups, group 2 and group 3.
Okay, group 2 and group 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Rajeshwari,
right,
would you like
let's
to
hear from
summarize
that.
for us?
Yeah.
It would be nice if you could summarize for us.
Please.
Thank you, Sujata, but I think I was quite that time. After that, I was caught up in my own self, and then when others were sharing, it triggered a few more things, and then I was with others. So I think if someone else can summarize.
So I can attempt and then others can add to it. The quest for self was explored in the group in both peak and in depth experiences, as in experiencing loss at a younger age, the impact of that, a question on identity. How does the loss of another person very close to you defines who you are if the relationship is very strong and very close, is what I picked up. The other aspect was about expectations. I'm living for whose expectations? I'm living up to whose expectations? And if I'm not able to meet those expectations, then whose standards should I follow? And also a question around, do I really have to live? The other one was about the various instances in life where you feel you know yourself, but something happens and you really realize that, no, this is not you. There's something more that you have to build within yourself, that you're a growing person, and it is endless. So this quest for self, this quest for knowledge of self is endless, and the universe is throwing all these instances at you and experiences at you, which once you immerse into that, you come out a different person and you're again thinking because you're not the same again. This is something that I would like to summarize for my group. If anyone else wants to add something, correct whatever I picked up, please feel free to do so.
Maybe my anchor will come here.
Sure. Again, I was also privileged to be in both the groups for a few minutes of time. I would put it in one simple example, which I experienced in my life itself. A very tall, handsome, beautiful looking saint, saffron colored dress, sitting next to me in the aircraft, Delhi Ahmedabad flight. I found him to be extremely antithesis to the saint business. I had the guts to ask him, sir, what happened to you? How you got into this? The reply he gave was what I saw in all the groups. Everyone has a trigger, he says. When the trigger happens, then the quest begins. The quest drives various people, or at least in this group processes I saw, various people have driven themselves in various directions. But the beginning is all, there is a trigger. Unfortunately and fortunately, I see many of these triggers have been on the one of the negative experience of life. And then people have gone the way they have gone. And likely one of the participants asked the question. There is a question, there isn't an answer. As they started running helter-skelter or going deeper into self, they have come out with more questions and answers. And I think your session connects all of us to that. But it started off in those three processes. Somewhere, I think the question was also answered, maybe 9 it is. It takes us to the question part. What is it that after? Am I to keep running? Am I to keep searching? Is the search and the quest is all the way? Where am I? That's a question that left. I saw this happening to all of them. I leave it to you to sum it up, or maybe we can take a few questions before you sum it up.
I think let's have one or two more questions from the experience that you have gone through. And then I have a few points to share as a piece of PPT, but well, I will be responding to the question. Please, anyone
So we'll take
else?
it as a question answer session.
Yes.
There's a couple of questions that we can afford to take what you said. So
Please go ahead. Anyone? This is the one question it has come. Unending search, where is the end? And so what after this? Any one or two questions quickly, so that I can lump these 2-3 questions together. Please, Nikhil, you are coming.
Yeah, is it so? I have tried some 5-6 different techniques or paths. I'm not getting into it, but broadly, right now I'm stuck with two. One, which believes in God, and the other, Vipassana, the path of Buddha, where you have to work towards your own self-liberation. In one, I feel there is an anchor and there is a support, and in the other, I feel I'm on my own. Is there a way that both can coexist in the journey, or eventually one should choose one and then stick to that path?
Okay, very good. I love that question. So nice of you. Thanks. I think it helps responding to the first question. There are ways, but there are no ways. There are ways, but there are no ways. And there is a God and there is no God. So when there is a God, I go through him, I go with him, I sync with him, and I find he is with me and he is within me. And what the hell I'm searching for him? He's right within me. He is my Swambhu, he is my Khuda, he is my Christ. He is within. So I begin with the God and culminate within myself. So that's where one way people begin. But there are people who don't believe in God. They're agonistic. They don't believe in God. Nothing doing. I'm not care for this, because the God creates religion and religion creates conflict. So I don't want to get into that. So I am only for this. So the question that comes back to such agonistic people who do not believe in God, the question comes, do you believe in yourself? Do you trust yourself? Do you experience that you can do whatever you want to do? Do you see that you are able to do whatever miracles you want to do? So the trust within yourself and their pursuit to discover yourself, the power within yourself, unseen power, comes back to converge. So there is both a duality. You know, I get back to perhaps responding to previous question also. In a Ramakrishna, Paramhans was a Kali devotee, and he was a devotee of Kali. But Vivekananda entered the premises with the first question, where is the God? And I want to know the God. I haven't seen the God so far. For the last so many weeks, I am with you. And you seem to be keeping the plate, you are praying, you are doing all kinds of things, but I don't see the God. Eventually, Ramakrishna took an assurance from him, Vivekananda, and says, Okay, you want to see the God? You really? Because I have met the God. You want to see? Okay. You have to spend some time with me with a patience. And he agreed, and look at the kind of the whole domain of the knowledge, the whole experience of knowledge with the non-dualistic, the God or the self, me or the God, or both. So where do we converge is a one way of looking at it, and I see the possibility. Because in a spiritual path, there is so much of work done scientifically. It's not mysticism alone, which is without a Brahmasutra. I'm sorry, I don't want to go to that domain of the knowledge, because I promise I will not take you to the knowledge. But even 108 Upanishads were brought to the debate only in a Brahmasutra. So Brahmasutra brought to the logic, meaning, interpretation, and analysis of the God or not God, or the self is the God or not the God is the self. So the whole unseen power of the self. But that Brahmasutra by itself is a huge depth of Vedanta. So question is, if you look at, without comparing the Western philosophy and the Eastern philosophy, the Indian Oriental philosophy, yes, the God-driven search is a possibility where sometimes we do get constraint of limiting with a God. But the moment you move beyond, because that requires a faith. If you say the God-driven exploration of the self, then requires a faith. And if you don't believe in Christianity, if you don't believe in Hinduism, if you don't believe in any religion, then you go back to the self. So people make their own choices. Which tunnel, in the tunnel, where do you want to go? But as my friend Prabhakar has said it beautifully, the tunnel, the light is not seen. You have to keep walking, my dear. If you are so much hungry as a seeker, and there is no end to that, because self is infinite, and that infinite is where I have infinite power, which I need to experience, and I hardly experience and use my potency. And that is where people ultimately, all the seekers of the eminence, that you know it without naming anybody, is Brahmasmi. So they say it is complete power within yourself. That's where it comes to a point. But I would like to take you to the modalities of the journey, in which journey we are. Many people do that. And so I take you to the next slide. I will request my friend to show you the 10th slide. Buddy, could you show it? Because,
Yes, sir.
This slide speaks of sometimes we are not clear of the goal. Am I searching God, or am I searching self? Or am I searching self is my God? So this is another confusion in the spirituality struggle. Am I searching my God, or am I searching myself and thereby God? And so on and so forth. So the ambivalence is, please, the PPT needs to be clear. There's so many. Is it clear? Come back to next slide. Come to 10th. After this, move to, yes, that's right. It talks of the goal. And I would say go back to the next slide. You skip this slide, I will come back again. Good. Yeah, that's right. The biggest challenge for a spirituality quest is where many of us feel alive, sensitive, and many of us question that how it is connected. I feel liberated. Somebody uses the word, I am so liberated in the laboratory. No, liberation in a spiritual sense has a different connotations. But in a lab, it is, so we go into the verbose of using some of the words, it is a meaning with a goal. What goal we are pursuing? And the struggle of clarity of goal in our spiritual awakening is the fundamental. If I'm not clear of my goal, if my goal itself is more doing goal, more having goal, and the being goal has completely been sidetracked in my life, then where is the spirituality? We talk of the language. We talk of the language, we become verbose, we bring quotes and dump the whole knowledge and go away with, like many of the Rishi and Sant that you have said it. You find that the being goal is missing. You become sometimes the Mathadis, you become sometimes the great Pandit and Gyanis, but the having goal is most important. I need to have it. The eminence, prominence, and the influence and the glory of the great Mahanta. And that's where having goal. And look at it. Yesterday news, a Mahanta was, great respected Mahanta was killed by his own disciples. For what? For having goal. Because the having goal is very driving force. After all the Akhara Parishad, somebody is killed in masjid, somebody is killed in any kind of such religious congregations, because the doing and having goals always overtake the being goal. And unfortunately, in our entire educational systems, being goal is the least focused. What kind of human being you'd like to be, that is a being goal. What kind of values you like to have it, what kind of belief you like to have it, what kind of attitude you like to have it, what kind of person you want to be. And that's where what my colleague Prabhakar started with is, if our clarity of goal is ambivalence, then we get lost into having. We start with a being goal. Now I'm in the process of having spent ISEPs, having spent 50 years in ISEPs, my God. Now I'm searching for having goal. Even today, and that is the dilemma goes on taking people from non-spiritual, because there are three aspects. One is the physical self, and responding to her question was intellectual self, and there is a psychological self. And in this psychological self, there is the emotional part, which we do spend a lot of time on that. But on a spiritual part, suddenly in our process work, we say, isse jyada nahi. Don't go deeper. Don't go deeper. Because that is where, not that we hide our ignorance, because the fact is the goal is not clear by the person who is driving himself as a doer in search of self. In search of self, many persons are more in a doing, one lab to another lab, to third lab, to one experience, to 20 training programs, 50 training programs. So we are in a doing mode, and being keeps on taking a back seat. And that's where the spiritual self becomes very, very fundamental. But I would like to take you to the previous slide, which I left it. My buddy, can you take it to previous one? That's right. That's right. Stay with that. If there is any question right now, you can raise the questions, whatever I have said it. And then I come back to this mode. Any of you have any questions so far? I'm in my own journey of my own spiritual quest. I chose not to write a paper. I chose to create an experience, because my paper is halfway as a piece of my own research of thousands of youth. I'm working on a skill training. And I asked them, one of the question was, why you want to acquire these skills? All these skills NSDC has started, National Skill Development Corporation. You know what was the answer?
I want to have this, I want to have this, I want to take up the career, I want to become this. Not a single answer out of 1,000 respondents conducted in the last 2 years of my survey, longitudinally on one batch to another batch to third batch, from the rural to urban skilled youth, is a being goal. What kind of person? I started creating a debating competition. व्यक्ति की परिपक्वता जरूरी है कि दक्षता जरूरी है? Is the person's maturity and the effectiveness is important, or the personal human skills are important? So the more and more I conclude the debate, they come back, no, both are essential, both are essential. But entire training program of the government of India and the rest of the school syllabus and the training programs and educational institutions and engineering is the list given on the being goal. And this data was substantiated. And when I submitted to the Bihar Skill Development Mission, as this is the sample, we have done it as a sketchy finding, we gave it an idea in a discussion. This is, well, soft skills are being taught. You know, soft skills have become a great scapegoat for spiritual learning. Is it the malady? Is it the paradox of our education systems? So fortunately, the attempts are being made. I'm not denying. But if there is no question, I would like to take you to this slide. But I wish my colleague anchor wants to say something. Prabhakar, would you like to add something which you saw it and maybe some question in your mind or supplement that you want to?
I have only something to supplement, Nagen, nothing to add, because you have put it beautifully. One of the wonderful things you said is converging towards the great learning many of us value as Aham Brahmasmi. In the applied behavioral science concept, we say there is a part of Nagen in Prabhakar, there is a part of Prabhakar in Nagen. When I start getting into that levels of sensitivity, my ability to be at harmony with everything around me, it becomes blissful. Somewhere in a quest of this search for God, anything symbolic, or starting with what you said, having a goal, some way we miss the big picture of evolving into a good human being. The good human being incidentally can have a goal, can see God, can experience God, can relate to cross sections. So somewhere I mean, it was coincidence that I had shared in the beginning, but I have experienced you that way. The good human being in you is the commencement of the journey. And I think it takes all of us eternally. If I look at many of the participants in the group work, they all had some kick or some trigger somewhere God gave. And then they picked it up and started looking inwardly and working. I think it connects to what you're saying. Very beautifully put.
Thank you, Prabhakar.
I would not like to feel the thunder. It is over to you again.
Yes, the only last part I wanted to add is because how much time I have? KK Jha, yes, so wonderful. How much time I have? KK, anybody, my buddy? 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
I think 5-7 minutes.
Okay, go ahead. KK, please.
3-4 minutes.
Okay, please.
Yeah,
KK.
you have 3-4 minutes, sir.
KK, you say, then I'll show you the video.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Let's wrap it up.
2 minutes. Okay, let's wrap it out. I'm just saying, Nagendra, nice to hear you after a long time. I'm saying this slide having 3 goals, having goals, doing goals, being goals, and in between you see, you said it's a goal. In between the coincidence of all these 3, and the same thing is written here: universe, my position, physical being, pranic being, and the unseen power.
That's right.
So can I interpret that unseen power will fetch me that ultimate goal or superordinate goal or Brahma goal, or that goal will give me unseen power, or is both is together?
The unseen power is the confluence of unseen, the discovered energy, the energy that I discovered, this unseen. The whole journey is to reach that confluence, to bring that confluence and my ability to swing from one to another. So that is where
But pranic being is where with the journey mode goes to the meditation and physical, the whole prana, the
Yeah.
whole pranayama and prana is regulated to look at as if I am only the prana, the jiva. So the entire journey is through this mode, and the common man looks at through this having, being, being. But the essence is the same, what you have said it. All three are so parallel and so overlapping and so common.
Yeah, there
Because
is, yeah, all three emerges like pranic being, universe, my position. It's actually one circle. Right
yes,
now
it
we are
is
saying,
one circle.
yeah,
It is
that's-
one circle.
yeah.
And before it ends, I will have only 3 minutes of video. I will request my friend and Buddy to show the video. This is the last video which will sum up everything, which answers some of the questions, and it takes us the journey of entire presentation. It is a 3.5 minutes video. It is a summing up video with a commentary. Please, my buddy, show it so that we close at the right time. It's a commentary. Please sound. Buddy.
Is a journey of self-exploration that gets changing in depth and width in terms of our sensibility with the passage of time and evolution. The being goal is taken over by the doing and having because of various factors around us. The essence gets lost or gets enriched because of the causal effect, because of the work forces, the social forces around us. The progressive schools of learning and human process exposure does take us to the self-awakening, demanding an active listening to our inner noise. The variance to the learning and its learning elasticity does define what goal we are pursuing in the life. The predominance of having goal, as evidenced from various researches in psychological field by the Western world and also in India, has indicated the being goal in the entire educational systems is least emphasized. The majority of the focus has been on the having and doing goals for the children, for the job, for any other purpose. But being goal is the least emphasized purpose. The soft skill training paradoxically has created a more of fervor of the having and doing goals in quest of their job and careers and occupations. The experience of a spiritual quest in everybody has been on variance, but one can look at it with the 5 critical tips because of our own explorations as a process learner, as a human process learner. The first is the focus on being is very, very high. Do we have that? The first is the focus of being and its clarity. The second diagnosis could be there is a growing congruence between the body, mind, and soul as we start working and looking at our own behavior and self. And third is growing awareness to the dissonance between the body, mind, and the soul. When they say the dissonance, it speaks of our denial of being. It speaks of our own denial to our feelings, denial to our behavior, denial to our thoughts, and disowning of responsibility. So various dimensions that starts indicating awareness to denial and its dilemma of acceptance. And the fourth part is clarity on the learning cycle and clarity on the elasticity of learning cycle. Are we learning from bhava? Are we learning from dhyana? Are we learning from jnana? Are we learning from doing, or we are able to learn from every mode of the 4 processes, which we call it learning cycle, Krishna learning cycle. The real being is the calm and the purest. But understanding of real being and clarity of real being is essentially seen by the perception of mind, is a flickering, disturbing, unsettling. So the appearance and description by the mind of our real being is like seeing this calm, silent moon in the shadow of the flowing river. So the clarity of real being and its restlessness perceived by the mind is taken out through the process of various pranic technique. So the 5 tips broadly speaks of we are becoming spiritually alive. The more and more we listen to this noise, the more and more we are in touch with our dissonance, we experience the depth and width of our spiritual aliveness. Because each human being metaphysically is spiritual in existence, and we discover and realize only when we are able to connect with our own consciousness from our journey of one point to the other point.
Thank you very much. I have that within the time tried my best, but I have just crossed a few points. Thank you, Prabhakar. It was indeed a great support to me and support to the house. And I could find that each and every member coming at the end of this session, whether late or in time, made a very significant and created a spiritual fervor within me. And I was charged. And now I will go for my dinner, because I decided not to have a dinner because I was so charged to continue with you until I complete my presentation. Thank you, dear. Thank you, Gayatri. Thank you.
Thanks, Nagin,
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
for handling such a complex topic with such simplicity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, the video will be uploaded very soon with some edition, and you can see it in Life Skills. This is the one they are kind enough to upload the video. But thank you. I will be connected for the next 4 days.
Thank you. Thank you, Nagin. Good night.
Thank you, Rajiv, for coming.
Thank you, Prabhakar. Thank you,
I'm
Akori.
so
And
happy
thank you,
to see
Rajeshwari.
some.
I see you after a long time.
Thank you, KK. Thank you, Akhori Sahab. I could see some smiling faces. Great.
Yeah.
Good to see you, KK, after so many years.
Yes,
I'm
it's
so happy.
nice to see you. Yeah.
Great. Thank
कैसे
you.
हैं आप?
Namaskar, Akhori Sahab. Pranam.
प्रणाम सबको प्रणाम.
Bye bye, सबको प्रणाम. Bye bye.
I request everyone to join the main session. I put the link in the chat box.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.